This is In the Loop. I'm your host, Christian Bryant. First off, I need that shirt, the one that says, go outside, worst case scenario, Bigfoot kills you. That's the kind of energy I want to walk into a room with. Secondly, we've got a weird and jam-packed show for y'all tonight. Starting with this. October is here. Yes, already. And it's officially spooky season. And what better way to kick things off than with some movie monsters and fearsome pop culture icons? That's right, it's time for another edition of Pop Quiz. And of course, that means we have ITL best friend Casey Mendoza joining us once again. Casey is neither a fearsome creature or a movie monster. She's a good friend of the show. Casey, what's happening?
Hey, Christian. And I'm no monster that you know of, but it's good to be back either way. And to jump right in, I've got a question for you. How well do you know your sci-fi classics? Do you have a favorite?
I am a Tron defender. I am a Tron legacy defender and apologist. Yeah, so one of them's a classic, right? That's my answer.
I'm excited for you either way. But to introduce our topic today, let's play a quick game here. Can you guess which alien character this is? What movie or TV show is this little guy from?
Okay, this one is easy enough. This is E.T., right?
Yes, correct. Very glad you got that one. Now, who do you think this is?
I'm looking at this and it's in a Simpsons style. I'm guessing it's either The Simpsons or Futurama. Cannot remember the name of this alien. How close am I?
You are pretty close. That is Kang from The Simpsons. So you guessed the art style. That was fun. Now, this last one's a little tricky. Do you know who this is?
I'm looking at this, and it kind of looks like one of my big head friends from Greensboro, North Carolina. I have no idea which alien this is. Who even is this?
So this is the alien from Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
The one with Shia LaBeouf? That was a tough one.
That could have been a lot of things. And when we think of aliens, a pretty standard image comes to mind. Big head, big black bug eyes, little green or gray men. But where did we get this ubiquitous idea? How have aliens changed in pop culture? And what might our aliens say about us? Today's pop quiz question is, why do we think aliens look like that? This question takes us on a wild ride from the post-war boom in UFO sightings to the artist behind some of your favorite Hollywood aliens to the mysterious world of astrobiology. Are you ready for this one?
I've been waiting to say this all day. Casey, beam me up!
Let's get into it. In the early 20th century, aliens tended to look pretty different from the little gray men, especially in film and television. Since productions were limited in practical effects, aliens naturally looked a lot like people, just in costumes or thick makeup. This is especially true for the earliest days of TV. To code the aliens as others or foreign seeming, sometimes alien characters borrowed heavily from harmful stereotypes.
My trick's gonna work, gonna make all the money.
One of the most formative sci-fi franchises, Flash Gordon, has an infamous example with its supervillain Ming the Conqueror. And yes, he is technically supposed to be an alien.
So here we have Flash Gordon, our blonde, handsome, all-American hero. He plays football. He's very athletic. He's very military, very commanding. And Ming is literally bug-eyed. So if you combine that sort of bug-eyedness with the clearly racist references, right, you can see the directors pulling on anxieties about the Yellow Peril and anxieties increasingly about Japan as a potential enemy in these depictions of Ming and his court.
You'll notice a big theme throughout movie history about aliens and cultural anxieties. For example, this would be echoed later during the Cold War. Concerns over communist spies and the alien within can be interpreted in the Red Scare era film Invasion of the Body Snatchers or the mid-80s The Thing. In both films, the alien invaders literally look like us.
What if what we view as the metropole, as the center of history, the United States, the United Kingdom, right, the West, right, in some kind of obscure way, what if they were the colonial sphere for some other group that was way more powerful? And so sometimes that's War of the Worlds, where they just obliterate human civilization. In the Cold War, it seems like the Greys are the CIA. They're sneaky, right? They want to infiltrate our society. They want to manipulate it.
I want to talk about Ming, for example, just for a moment, because cringe, come on. One of the questions I have for you, Casey, is, so where do the little gray men start to show up then? Does that start with another cultural anxiety?
Well, there are a few theories about the exact origins of the image, but one compelling one comes from this infamous encounter in Kentucky back in 1955. One fateful night, the Sutton family all rushed into a police station to report the same detailed story about a flying saucer and an hours-long attack from little gray creatures back at their farmhouse. The aliens supposedly had big heads, big eyes, and long, skinny arms. This wild story caught lots of media attention, and after a few other reports in the area had similar descriptions, the image of aliens got conflated into the image we have now.
I gotta say, if that was the Bryant family, I don't know if we'd stick around long enough to actually see what these aliens look like. But a family of farmers battling a crazy alien farmhouse siege would make a pretty good movie, actually.
And sure enough, right after this, we start to see the little green creatures show up on screen, like in Invasion of the Saucer Men in 1957. This Kentucky incident was part of the post-war period that saw a boom in reports of UFO and alien sightings, which some experts blame on, you guessed it, anxieties around nuclear threats and the Cold War.
I am here to discuss the so-called flying saucers. Since 1947, we have received and analyzed between 1 and 2,000 reports. There have been a certain percentage of this volume of reports that have been made by credible observers of relatively incredible things.
Steven Spielberg would later say he was directly inspired by these stories when he wrote the script for the iconic Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
So I see how we might picture aliens a certain way and what that says about us, cultural anxieties, anyone? But what about the people actually designing these aliens? Like, how does a Hollywood artist try to create an alien from scratch?
That's a great question, and the best way to answer that is to hear from an artist directly. We spoke to the artist Carlos Fuente about his process behind designing aliens for the big screen. Carlos designed aliens in tons of sci-fi hits like Prometheus, Men in Black, and Arrival.
I've looked at and studied animal images of animals, all that sort of thing. Plants, I mean, I really got into studying plants with Carl Blossfeld's black and white photograph. I really got into it because the forms and all the shapes were so interesting, and they looked so architectural even. You can't really beat it, right? Nature is just, everything is designed so beautifully, right? You can't do anything better than that. So we're trying to mimic that, the organization of shapes in the short time that I have, right, to design something. That's what I'm thinking of. I'm pulling from all that. So when I met with Ridley on, say, Covenant and Prometheus, I told him, I showed him a video of a beluga whale in the dark sea. And I go, look at this thing, looks like a ghost when it's coming out of, the dark. I go, we got to do that. It's beautiful, it's simple, and I want to do that.
The whale footage also became the inspiration behind the iconic aliens in the movie Arrival, directed by Denis Villeneuve.
And then I just propped it up and then made it look like a man kind of a thing. And then Denis was like, hands up in the air, this is it. And I looked at him, I go, really? Oh, wow, we're going to go this far. I thought, okay, this is going to be cool, you know?
Artists like Carlos aren't the only ones looking to nature to imagine what aliens look like. There is an entire scientific field called astrobiology, dedicated to theorizing how alien life might form and appear on other planets by looking at how life evolved on Earth and how life forms within extreme environments. Like, check out this one paper from 2017 that used evolutionary theory to illustrate possible alien anatomies, from simple microbes to complex creatures.
Aliens become a kind of virtual laboratory. Our stories about aliens are a virtual laboratory in which we can test out the different ways that we confront our anxieties about the enemy without and the enemy within.
Aliens become a way of thinking about how humans interact with one another, and is there a way for us to be decent to one another? Aliens become just another way of thinking about what we're already doing.
Science fiction is science fiction. There's a reason there in trying to reason everything, right? We're trying to make sense of stuff. And if we can make entertainment about it, I think it pokes at your child mind, right?
Aliens are sure to keep changing and adapting in film, TV, and more. How we picture aliens and meeting aliens will continue to reflect so much of ourselves, from our cultural or political anxieties to our hopes and fantasies of the future.
You know, if there's one thing we can always count on, it's for somebody like you, Casey, to really beam us up, or maybe beam down information into us so that we can understand where these aliens come from, these big-headed, big-eyed creatures. As always, Casey Mendoza, thank you so much for joining us on another edition of Pop Quiz, one of my favorite things to do. Thank you again.